I've got a cold. Hey guys, Shelby Zombie here. Sorry it's been a while since the last upload, but this is my favourite horror movies, part number 2. The reason why it's been a while is because I was in a different city visiting my girlfriend, so that's why it's been a while. So, my favourite horror movies part 2, taking reference from this magnificent book. Here we go. Let's get on with it. Okay, something that I didn't do in the last video was honourable mentions, and I think they deserve to be shown in this video. So, honourable mention number 1. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari from 1919. This has to be the most visual horror film, for me anyway. It's definitely one of the oldest. I think the film is brilliant. It's very eerie, especially the character Caesar, or Caesar, however you pronounce the name. It's a German film. It's silent, it's very eerie. My favourite shot in the entire film is actually in the book, and I'll show you the shot right now. That's the shot in the book. That shot in the film, sorry, wrong page. That shot in the film is brilliant, where Caesar is carrying the woman up the stairs and the camera is slanted. The visuals in this film are amazing. I mean, it's very dreamlike, if you will. It's magnificent. Check it out. So, on to honourable mention number 2. The Golem from 1920. I think that this film also is very eerie. I think that all the silent films really are eerie, especially this one, Nosferatu and Caligari are the most eerie for me. It's just the appearance of the Golem, played by Paul Wegener, who also co-produced the film, directed. He did quite a lot on this film. Like I said, it's very eerie. It's not one I've seen a lot. I've only seen it once, but it does deserve an honourable mention because it's, you don't miss it. I'm not saying that it's my favourite one, but like I said, this is an honourable mention. It does deserve to be watched because it's in there with the classics. So go and check it out. That's all I can say. So let's get into the list. Dracula from 1958, also known as The Horror of Dracula. This was Hammer's first Dracula film, and it just comes together perfectly, I think. As soon as the scene opens, or as soon as the film opens, you get a shot of a coffin with the word Dracula written on it, and blood just splatters on the coffin. Red paint. It's literally red paint. I mean, it's the blood is so thick, you can tell it's red paint. But besides that, the film is brilliant. The atmosphere, brilliant. Everything about the film, brilliant. Sums it up in one word. This is definitely one of my favourites in the Hammer Dracula series, but I'll get to my other favourites as the list goes on. I've got to mention Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee and Michael Gough in this film. They are just superb, absolutely superb. The names are changed, like Mina and Lucy, and the fiancés and everything like that. The changed in this film as opposed to Bram Stoker's novel. I honestly don't know why Hammer did that. I don't know why. I still don't know why. But Christopher Lee as Dracula, absolutely amazing. I know I said in my other video that it's debatable that Bela Lugosi might be, debatable with Christopher Lee, but in my eyes, I think Christopher Lee is the best Dracula because he's menacing. I think he's just menacing. The way he just walks down the stairs, the way he's fucking evil. That's all I can say. He's evil. So yeah. Peter Cushing, great as always. He's got a great acting voice, I think. It's just the bit where he's explaining to Michael Gough's character. It's just his voice in that scene. This is not Lucy, the person you fell in love with. It's only a shell corrupted by the evil of Dracula. I just love that scene, and I love his voice in that. So yeah, Dracula, fantastic film. On to the next Dracula film, Dracula Prince of Darkness from 1966. I probably would have to say this is my only film from the 60s. Like, my only favourite film from the 60s. There weren't a lot of many films in the 60s that I liked. I can say the same for the 50s as well. But, yeah, I don't know if Dracula Prince... It's a choice between Dracula Prince of Darkness and Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. It's either those two that are my favourite in the Hammer Dracula series. I don't know. The first one I ever saw was Dracula Prince of Darkness, and I always used to watch Hammer films with my mom, and I still do. And it's just... Hammer is such a great company when it comes to Dracula, even though that Christopher Lee didn't want to, do the role after the first film, or after the second film maybe, which was this one. The reason why he didn't speak in this film, because the dialogue that was given to him he didn't like, because it was not Bram Stoker's, how can I say, it wasn't how Bram Stoker delivered the characters as such. So that's why he didn't speak, because he hated the dialogue, so he refused to speak. But I think that this film is great. It's the first Dracula film in the Hammer series to introduce a servant for Dracula, and this servant's name is Clove, and he plays a pretty big part in this film. He's the one who has to resurrect Dracula, and this film pretty much picks up where the first one left off, and it shows you a flashback. However, Peter Cushing is not in this film, which is a real shame. But yeah, Dracula Prince of Darkness, go check it out. It's one of the classics, definitely. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave from 1968. Like I said, it's debatable whether this one or Prince of Darkness is my favourite. This one is really good, I've got to say. This one is excellent. The concept of this one is really good. And it seems that every Dracula film picks up straight where the other one left off. Not many Dracula films do that. Well, the Hammer ones do anyway. So this one, at the end of Prince of Darkness, Dracula died by running water, and so he was frozen underwater. And then this one picks up where that one left off, and in this one, a priest finds Dracula underwater, frozen underwater, and he accidentally falls over and bangs his head, which causes the ice to crack, and then the blood drips into I think it drips into Dracula's mouth. Yeah, it does. It drips into Dracula's mouth, and then the priest sees him in a reflection of the water. But my favourite concept of this is that there's a character named Paul, and basically he's not religious at all, and he's seeing a girl. I can't remember the girl's name. I really can't. But the girl's name comes up a lot in Hammer films, because Hammer tend to use the same names in each of their films. And he sees this girl, and this girl's father's a priest, and Paul's an atheist, and he doesn't believe in any religion. And so obviously that makes it harder for him to kill Dracula. But I never understood, once you stake a vampire, that's it. But apparently in this one, you've got to stake him, then you've got to pray. Whatever, but there's a fantastic scene where this priest is trying to confront Paul. He's trying to say, you must pray. I can't. I'm an atheist. I can't. And Dracula's like struggling to take the stake out of his chest, and then he just stands up, takes the stake out, and just throws it at them. I just thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, Dracula's Risen from the Grave. Definitely check it out. It's one of the best. Scars of Dracula from 1970. I don't know what it is about this one, I just really like it. This one picks up after Taste the Blood of Dracula, which I've got to be honest, is not my favourite in the series. My absolute worst in the series is The Satanic Rites of Dracula. I absolutely hate that one. next to... I don't hate Taste the Blood of Dracula. I actually think it deserves an honourable mention, but there's just something about it that I just think it's not good enough to be on the list. Basically, the plot of that one is that Dracula is taking revenge because these people killed his servant, and he basically hunts them down one by one, and each time he kills them, he numbers them. So first one killed, he goes, the first. Second one dies, the second. Third one dies, the third. Yada yada yada. So it's just not my favourite. There's nothing goes on in that film. However, in The Scars of Dracula, a lot more goes on. It's very bloody. It's actually probably the bloodiest one in the series. There's eyes popping out of the sockets, bats nipping at people's faces, Dracula coming into a woman's bedroom, stabbing her to death. It's good. It's good. It's good. Never actually saw Dracula use a knife, but there we go. Yet again, there's a character named Paul, and also Dracula has a servant. I think his name was Clove in this one. I think he was, but he's a lot better servant, and Dracula ends up killing him because he let a girl that Dracula was holding hostage. He let her go because he liked her, and obviously he betrayed his master. What was interesting about this film is that it was released in a double bill with the horror of Frankenstein, I think it was called, starring David Prowse. It was released as a double bill, so that was kind of cool. And also Dracula Prince of Darkness was released as a double bill with Hammer's Plague of the Zombies. And I'll get to that one in a minute. I almost forgot that one, but I'll get to that in a minute. So, Scars of Dracula, pretty good. Dracula AD 1972. I'll let you take a wild guess of what year it was released. I think this film is amazing. Plus, it's the return of Peter Cushing as Van Helsing, or a descendant of Van Helsing. Yeah, this is where it starts to get complicated. The opening scene is amazing. It's basically Dracula versus Van Helsing. Van Helsing from the first film, anyway. Fighting on a carriage, and then the carriage crashes. Dracula gets impaled with the wheel, and then dies, and then Van Helsing dies, and then the film takes place many years later, in the year of 1972, and then there's a descendant of Van Helsing who looks absolutely identical. I don't know how that works, but it doesn't matter. The film is brilliant. You've also got the character of Johnny Alucard, which spelled backwards is Dracula. I think anyone knows that by now. You've also got Van Helsing's granddaughter Jessica, played by the beautiful Stephanie Beacham. I'd say next to Veronica Carlson, she's probably my favourite Hammer babe. In fact, I think Stephanie Beacham only appeared in this film of Hammer's anyway. I might be mistaken. I'm not sure, so sure on that, but yeah, she's a fantastic actress in this. There's one actor I don't like in this film. He's really annoying and he likes to scare people. I haven't watched the film in quite a while, and I can't remember his name. I could easily look it up now, but I'm editing, so I'm editing at the same time. This film is great. The way Dracula dies in this film, pretty good. There's a big scene at night where Van Helsing is basically setting up a trap for Dracula, and he's doing all the shit and everything. And then when he finally confronts Dracula, because Dracula has hypnotized his granddaughter Jessica, and so he's obviously keeping her hostage. And then Dracula has a bit of a fight with Van Helsing, goes outside. He sees the trap, but Van Helsing throws holy water in his face, and then he falls into the pit with the stakes and everything, and then he impales him on a rock with a shovel. And he sticks the shovel. No, it wasn't a rock. It was a stake. Yeah, but I think he threw a rock on something. Anyway, he threw a rock in the pit or on Dracula. But whatever. It's just an amazing film. It's the last Hammer Dracula film for me, anyway. Yeah, just if you love Hammer, you've already seen it by now. But if you haven't, go check it out. If you want a good Dracula film, check out Dracula, 1931. Dracula, 1958. Prince of Darkness, Scars of Dracula, Dracula Has Risen from the Grave, and Dracula AD 1972. If you want good Dracula films, check those out. Anyway, moving on to the next Hammer film. The Curse of Frankenstein from 1957, which I believe was Christopher Lee's first Hammer film. I'm not so sure about Peter Cushing, but this film is absolutely amazing. One of my favourite adaptations of the Frankenstein story, next to obviously the 1931 version, and probably the movie Mary Shelley's Frankenstein starring Robert De Niro, that will come later on in the list. This film is amazing. Every visual shot shown is just brilliant. I think even the costumes, really. I've got to mention the costumes, that they always stood out to me. I love the look of the creature, not the monster, but the creature, because they never referred to Frankenstein's creation in this film as the monster. It was the creature, for some reason. My favourite scene is where Frankenstein is actually confronting his creation, because obviously he gets married, and so he accidentally shoots his bride, because the creature is holding Frankenstein's bride, and he accidentally shoots the bride, and so he picks up a lantern and throws it at the creature, and then he falls through a window into water. And it's actually it's actually really touching. It's just the way Peter Cushing delivers the line, "Get away from me." It's just like he's telling the creature to get away from him as he's picking up the lantern, and he says that line. I just think it's just listen to it. It's really touching. It really is, because you can actually tell that he's actually quite scared now. Like, what has he done? He knows he's fucked up. So but Frankenstein in this film is a bastard. He's so mean. Like, for a brain, he pushed a person over the balcony of a like a staircase, and that obviously killed the person. But I always thought, wouldn't that damage the brain? I don't know. But he also has an assistant named Paul, and it's just, wow, one of Hammer's recurring names, Paul. Yeah, but the Curse of Frankenstein, it's my only. It isn't the only Frankenstein film in the Hammer series, but it is my favourite, definitely. In fact, it's my only favourite. So, The Curse of Frankenstein, definitely check it out. It's definitely worth watching. I know I said The Curse of Frankenstein was my only favourite. I told a lie. Frankenstein Created Woman from 1967 is my second favourite Frankenstein film because it goes off track. Not only does Frankenstein want to transfer body parts, but this time he's trying to transfer, in other words, the soul. Okay. So, basically it's about this, it's about a lad, well, in the beginning he is a lad named Hans, who sees his father get executed with the guillotine. And so as Hans grows up, he falls in love with a girl named Christina. And Christina is disfigured. She's got like a disfigured eye, and so these three bastards just pick on her, and so Hans just doesn't take to it very kindly. And so one night these I'm just going to call them bastards. One night these bastards, I remember this one really well. These bastards just beat up this guy in a bar, and Hans comes in and they frame him for it. And so Hans is sent to court and then later executed. However, Christina then commits suicide by jumping in the river. Frankenstein then resurrects Christina, but makes her beautiful, basically. Fixes her eye, everything. However, Hans' head is kept with Christina on her mirror. And so, because she's got like a mirror with like the two stands, and so it's just basically piked on the stand. And so the voice in Christina's head is Hans, and he's telling her to kill the three bastards. And it's sort of like I Spit on Your Grave. She seduces them and then she kills them. So that's how I think of it. But it's nowhere near as violent as that film. Sorry, I just need to. Yeah, it's nowhere near as violent as that film, of course, because it's Hammer. But definitely check out Frankenstein Created Woman. It's a fun one. I'm going to say that, it's a fun one. The Plague of the Zombies from the year of 1966. One of my favourite zombie films of all time. I'm not even going to compare it to Romero's zombie films because this is something completely different. This film, next to White Zombie, actually goes into depth of the term zombie and its originality, because it's based on voodoo, and that is what zombies originally came from. Voodooism. Basically, the film is about I was going to say a priest, but it's not. Basically, a person in a little village practicing witchcraft. That's all I'm going to say, because that's what the film is about. You do later reveal who it is, but you see, it comes off as a nice person, like a helpful person, but the character is, I really can't remember his name, but the character is like, he's the leader. And the zombie makeup in this film is actually really good, and I believe this film was directed by Terence Fisher. He had a lot to do with the Dracula films and the Frankenstein films. Actually, the Hammer films that Terence Fisher directed are the best ones usually. But Plague of the Zombies is don't avoid it. Don't avoid Plague of the Zombies if you like Hammer. Yeah, don't avoid it. It's really good. My favourite scene is definitely where the two villagers are, all the two main characters, sorry, I should say, are confronted by all the zombies, and they're all coming up from the ground, and it's a great visual shot. I mean, as the zombies are coming up from the ground, it's one of my favourite shots in zombie movies. So yeah, definitely check out The Plague of the Zombies. And finally, I'm going to end this video with a film from 1961 known as The Curse of the Werewolf. This, to me, is next to, of the classics, next to Wolfman, Werewolf of London, this is probably either my second or third favourite, I think. Sorry, that's just my name popping up there. Yeah, I think that it's one of my favourite ones. It stars Oliver Reed, and he's just fantastic in this. The setting, Spain, is actually very beautiful. It's a very nice setting. The makeup is really good though for a 60s film. I told a lie. I said it was I I don't like any films from the 60s, whereas clearly I do. I like this film. Yeah, the makeup on the werewolf is really good. I mean, it's really, really good. The film is basically about Leon's mother, who was, I guess, she was raped by this person who was held in a cell for a number of years. I mean, at the beginning of the film, you actually see this person come into this like really rich place, and they basically, because he's poor, they taunt him. They say, "Oh, you want this bit of food? You want this chicken? Dance for it, dance!" And so he dances, and then he gets the food, and then gets chucked into a cell. But going off track, Leon basically turns into a werewolf because he was born on the full moon. He was born on the night of a full moon. And there's a scene where, as a child, Leon is looking at the moon, holding 2 bars because he's barricaded, and so he's shaking on the bars, and his hands are all furry like a werewolf. The ending, to be honest, is actually quite sad. The ending where Leon breaks out of his cell because he falls in love with this girl named Christina. Yet again, I'm reusing the same name. He falls in love with this girl named Christina, and the relationship between them is really, it's heartbreaking. It really is. And the scene where Leon's father shoots him as the werewolf, it is kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. It kind of reminds me of Hunchback of Notre Dame, because Leon's in a bell tower before, that's where he dies. He dies in a bell tower, and he's swinging on the bell. So it kind of reminds me of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. But there we go. So guys, thank you for watching. I'm really sorry if I mumbled on in this video. I feel like I have. But thank you for watching my favourite horror movies of all time, part number 2. There will be a part 3, and I think part 3 may be the last one, but I'm trying to fit everything I can in each video. So guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care.